Hello, everybody, and welcome to EduMatch. So glad to have you here. So follow along with us at bit.ly/tweet talk 85. 85 episodes. Oh my goodness. So tonight we are going to be talking about badging. We have an awesome panel with us. In a second, we're going to definitely introduce ourselves, but just wanted to give a huge shout out to the moderator, Noah Geisel, and check out Badge Chat K12 on Twitter, Mondays at 3:30 Pacific, 4:30 Mountain, 5:30 Central, and 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. Also check out Badge Summit. So I'll let him tell you a little more about that. But first, we're going to have our fantastic panelists introduce themselves. So I'm going to kick it over to Katie first.
Hi guys, I'm Katie McNamara. I serve as a teacher librarian in Central California, which means I get to do a little bit of everything in every subject and bring in all the cool fun stuff to help out my students and teachers.
Awesome. So glad to have you back, Katie. Welcome. And also we have Rich.
Hey, welcome everyone. It's great to see everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Rich Dixon. I'm based in Southern California, and I've spent over 20 years as a teacher, ed tech coordinator, administrator, a bunch of different things. A few years ago, left the classroom with a former friend, current friend, I should say, but former colleague who was a teacher to start a small company. We do professional development with ed tech, and we recognize those accomplishments with badges. And then on the side, I teach out at UC Santa Barbara in the teacher credentialing program for upcoming teachers.
Awesome. So great to have you here. And last but not least, we're going to kick it over to our fantastic moderator, Noah, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and then just go ahead and take it away right after you're done.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. My name is Noah Geisel. I'm at SeniorG on Twitter. And in addition to having the greatest honor of my life be the 2013 National Foreign Language Teacher of the Year for ACTFL, I spend a lot of time playing in the Digital Badge Sandbox, and along with our host, Sarah, co-founded Badge Chat K12 on Mondays, as she said. Please join us. It's a very open, welcoming community, no experience needed. And really flattered to be here with these three awesome folks this afternoon. So let's go ahead and get started. And my apologies in advance. I'm not in optimal audio environment. I'm in the waiting room of Epic Escape Rooms here in Denver. So my friends are escaping right now. And I'll go join them after we're done. So the first question I'll throw out to Katie and Rich is, when folks are just getting started with badges, what are some of the important questions to be considered in the, what design decisions should be going through their minds?
I think it's important to think with your end in mind. What's the ultimate purpose of badging? And also thinking about access points. That's why Pokemon Go got so big so fast, is there's different avenues for people to get involved. So thinking about that with your badging to the different types of people you have in a classroom. So for example, if you wanted to look at the 4 types of gamers, so there's killers, achievers, socialites, explorers. If you have a badge that kind of fits the personality of each of those people, then there's something for everyone to get excited about.
That's great. One thing I'd add to that as well, and that was great, Katie, is thinking about the end in terms of who else is also going to be looking at those badges. So if it's parents, if it's other teachers, community members, or maybe even institutions that student, if we're student badging, that they can't even imagine yet. So maybe a college or a potential employer. In other words, when we build those badges, is there a way that we can use open badges, which we can break down in just a minute, that include information about the accomplishments, that when the graphic of the badge is clicked on, describe in detail the accomplishments and why that badge is important. So the goal there is, can we make that description of the badge something that anybody can understand and value, so that the learner can advocate clearly their accomplishments and their potential and interests?
Yeah, I really love what you're getting at there, Rich. And oh no, is my mic about to die?
That sounds good.
I'm gonna go to the second question here. I apologize. We'll have really bad audio for a second while I do this. I apologize, my battery on my headset's dying. What lessons have you learned from your own experiences or from observing others that you can share so other folks can start closer to where you are than where you were?
So I recently badgified a state conference in. Actually, that was my first bit about badging, so it was a little daunting to do this huge thing. But something I learned there that I could transfer into any setting is make sure you also have some badges that are easily attainable. So like just showing up, taking a picture of you being there, something super, super simple. So it's easy to feel that sense of accomplishment. And then it helps that person understand the platform and how to kind of like learn the tool instead of learning something heavy plus the tool at the same time. So kind of like balancing out the learning needs there.
That's a great one, Katie. I think for us, one of the things we learned early on is we were badging primarily for teachers. And one of the things that we ended up working on was creating a university partnership. So in the situations where we were working, it was really important for educators to have an option to get university credit, to either move up on the pay scale or finish a requirement. I've seen other districts, like one back in New York where I was just visiting a couple months ago, where they weren't so concerned about matching with university partnership, but they wanted every accomplishment that an educator was recognized for with a badge to be applied for the professional development requirements for their district. And so what that meant is that if they had done 8 hours of professional development and had that recognized by one of the badges within their district, they actually got a free day, if you will. They didn't have to show up to one of the 2 scheduled PD days throughout the course of the year. So in other words, the badge had value both to the learner and then through being able to click on the badge and seeing exactly what that badge meant in the metadata. It also had value for the rest of their environment, the rest of their community. So a learning lesson was for us, I guess, learning how to listen to see who vocalized what was important to them and building that in to the outcomes and how those badges were created.
Yeah, totally agree, Rich. And partnerships are critical. I would think about what you're most worried about in taking on badging. So in my case, I was most concerned about validating these badges. Like, oh my goodness, I'm just one person, what do I do? So you reach out, grab some partners, ask for help. You have a PLN, or if you don't, get one. You know, it's pretty easy to just ask for help. There's so many fabulous people that, yes, will help you even though they don't know you, which is amazing. I grabbed people from all over the nation and Canada to help me validate badges, and that just helped build my PLN even more and got more people excited about badging.
Yeah, I think that one thing that you point out there, Katie, is that, you know, that to not, it's really easy to get yourself in a situation where you're biting off more than you can chew. And I really admired the way that you thought ahead on that. And by reaching out to other folks to say, hey, I'm going to be receiving all of this evidence, can I get all hands on deck to help me with that? And so I think that's a really awesome design consideration to have in mind is, am I creating just a resource drain to where while trying to do something good for the world, do I end up just creating a new full-time job for myself just to be going through and validating evidence? And Rich, you were talking about the audience piece, and I'm wondering if you could kind of slow that down a little bit for folks who kind of were just like, huh, what is he talking about there? That normally when we think of any type of credential, award, recognition, we're thinking about, it's whoever gives it and whoever receives it. And you're really talking about kind of expanding to a bigger ecosystem of who cares. And so can you say a little bit more about that?
You bet. So one of the things that I'm really excited about with Open Badges is the ability for an earner, whether it's an adult or a student, to be able to include that digital badge in, say, an email signature or a web page or something else. And by so doing, be able to advocate for themselves and more clearly articulate their skills, their interests, and their potential. And so to that end, the idea is that each digital badge gets built up with a real clear definition of what was accomplished. And so to kind of cut through some of the ambiguity of that, one of the things that I've really been inspired by with Kate Tolnai's work and a few others is using very simplistic but yet meaningful descriptions about what was accomplished. So as educators, I know I can throw in buzzwords like agency or something like that may obscure the meaning of the outcome and what was accomplished in the badge. And so I think one of the things to do is think about things like sentence stems, I can, and then kind of listing out very clearly what the different skill sets are that were accomplished, so that when it's earned, we may not know down the road who we want to represent this to. So kind of thinking long-term in such a way that that badge could be meaningful for a very wide audience, because badges are meant to be viewed and consumed, if you will, by those outside of the learning environment and have the potential to say a lot more than just a piece of paper. Not to say that a traditional diploma is important, because they are, but badges have a unique way to discreetly describe very specific skill sets.
And Katie, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, or we can also go on to our next question?
I do want to add on to, it's like the people that get all excited about getting their like Google Level 1 certification, that's a badge. And you go to a conference, people are blasting that all over the place. So if we have these badges that show other learning modalities and knowledge, but it's meaningful too, like Rich was saying, there has to be a purpose behind it, that it shows value in something, then it becomes even bigger. And it's getting to a point where some colleges are looking at awarding badges, and you collect these badges to get your credential or your degree later on.
Totally, yeah. And we do still have a few minutes left if anybody who's watching live wants to throw out some questions on the EduMatch hashtag. I see we have award-winning teacher Rochelle watching us live. Congratulations on your recent award. And let's go ahead and jump to the next question that I had for you, and that's for the student or teacher, whoever's earning a badge. You know, when they raise their hand and say, why should I care about this? How do we respond other than to just say, because you should be intrinsically motivated to learn?
I'll go ahead and take a run at that. Katie, please jump in at any point at all. Want to make sure I don't jump in too quickly. But I think one of the examples from another school that district I was working with recently out in Kansas was really compelling. And they wanted to be able to show that the professional development time and dollars that they were using as a school and as a district were going to something meaningful. And they were able to talk about, in this situation, Chromebooks and how Chromebooks are making a difference for teaching and learning. But what I was really excited about, again, is they were using open badges. And I'll send a link out here, and maybe we could post it in the show notes, to do some resources that are free and open that others have contributed that explain open badges and some of what we've talked about in more detail. But the district was able to communicate both to its board members and then have teachers communicate to teachers in the digital newsletters that they were sending home to their parents by including the badges that their teachers were earning, so that the parents had a sense of buy-in and a sense of understanding of how much work the teachers were doing, as we all do, informally and formally, to ramp themselves up and become really expert, in this case, at using Chromebooks for their teaching and learning. So I think, again, that communicating in more detail to those both inside and outside of the school to show accomplishments can be one way that badges are helpful.
Yeah, the badges can help show their proficiency, so it winds up creating that grade, which still some students don't care. So I would say that question, why should I care? It goes with anything in the classroom. That's why having those relationships with your students really matter, because that conversation is going to be different depending on who I'm talking with. Well, you should care because of X, because that X is important to that student. Way to help them access and show their learning. And then the kids that are really raunchy, I put them on starting to create badges. Well, you don't like this, maybe you should find something you think is important, and you make a badge and challenge your classmates. Now they're pretty excited about it.
Katie, that's a great example, because I think, to summarize, one of the things I'm most excited about and drew me into badges originally was helping to more personalize education. You did a great job explaining a case study where that has been achieved. And I'll hold there, because we could go down a number of different rabbit trails, but that's a great example.
Yeah, and we do have a couple questions. Science Wildcats wants to know how badges are actually being used. So, Katie, this might be a great chance to share what you did at your conference and Rich, the example you were about to share. I also would encourage folks to check out badge.aurorak12.org. That's badge.aurorak12.org in order to see an example of implementing at a district-wide kind of level of implementation. Also, Corona Norco out in California has an amazing implementation going on. But Katie, can you kind of share a real-world application that you led the charge on?
Yeah, so at my conference, I had badges that range from various levels of competency. So some was just post what you learned, something that you're excited about and want to use later, to also adding in extra technology. So they had to create a meme that went with a topic that kept on coming up at the conference. Every conference has a theme that tends to pop up all the time. So now I had adults that some of them didn't even know how to make a meme. So they're learning that too, plus manipulating it into this non-linguistic representation to help everyone else kind of get what's going on as well. And as we're posting this too on Twitter and different social media, other people are getting that new knowledge as well. I'm focused in the library, so now I'm also working on badges that connect to information literacy, which opens it up for every student to get involved and be part of the game.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Again, or set of comments there. I think, again, because I spend so much of my time with badging either pre-professionals and or existing educators on that side of things, I'm just so excited about people being able to be excited about sharing what they're learning in a more meaningful way. Because again, as teachers, I know we spend so much time learning and investing in our own professional growth. And then we also have this whole, so that's informal. And we have this whole other side of formal training that we go through as well. And I think it's really great when badges are a part of all of that, either ones that we have created and assigned within buildings for each other, or those that are part of a more formal program, so that we can, again, articulate and help others understand what it is that we do and our unique ways that we go about crafting our own learning environments. And so whether that's something like the Google Level 1 certification, or to certifications around instructional strategies, whether that's SAMR or TPAC or something like that, I think the sky's the limit. And it doesn't have to be ed tech. It could be, any particular skill, as Katie alluded to and mentioned to wonderfully throughout this talk.
And looking at how they're being used in the classroom, we still have to differentiate, even though we're badging. So maybe you don't want just one badge at the end. You can apply the concept of micro badging, where they get awards for accomplishing little bits at a time. And maybe it's 3 or 4 micro badges and make them get the big one at the end, so that students can have these success points and check-ins. Some really thrive on having that concept of, yes, 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 I am on the right track, instead of waiting until that end. So it also goes with, if you do your projects in the classroom, if you just wait till the end, now your feedback isn't really constructive as far as them being able to change gears. But if we step back and have those midpoints, better. Same thing, micro badging can apply as those mid check-in points to help that end badge be solidified and stronger.
I love both of those responses. Our last question was going to be to share resources, but if you're following on the hashtag, hashtag EduMatch, you'll see where we just shared kind of a resource galore, compliments of Rich and Kate Tolnoy. So definitely check out those resources there. Let's kind of end on audience questions. So Inspire 0818 is asking how to create badges. And I'd say that, there's a lot of really easy on-ramps to creating badges. If you wanted to go to most platforms from which you issue badges, have a creation tool. And once you get good at it, you're looking at 30 to 90 seconds of your life. So just go out and do it, and know that it's pretty low stakes if you mess up, because nobody will know. And then Brant asked a question that I'm really excited to hear your answers on. Maybe it'll be a great kind of outro for us. Brant is asking for recommendations on how to display staff badges. And if you don't mind me hopping in, I think this is one great place to also go outside the digital space to the physical world. I'm hearing stories about folks who in their hallways are just going ahead and throwing up physical representations of some of those badges outside teacher doors, so that their colleagues kind of have a heat map in the hallways of where the talent is, who's an Infinite Campus ninja, right? What ideas do you all have for displaying staff badges?
Similar concept. I haven't gotten to do it with professional learning yet, but I have this vision of like magnetic badges that teachers can put on their whiteboards. So when staff or students go in the classroom, they can see, oh, this is what my teacher is an expert in. It opens up that conversation. At the same point, it could be if another teacher walks in that is the expert, can help them. Hey, I see you haven't got X badge yet. Would you like some help with that? And just empowers both sides.
That's a great one. I know one district that we worked in had a culture where the teachers, when they began to talk about, really didn't want the badges to be publicly displayed outside of classrooms or on classroom doors. Some of them felt a little more shy. So what they ended up doing is they didn't want to have parents say, oh, that's the great teacher because they have all these badges, and then imply that the one that has fewer badges is somehow less, even if those fewer badges maybe represented more work. It may not be as easy to tell. And so what they did as a compromise is they posted them in their staff room. And they used it just as a way to encourage, and rather than people feeling, hey, I'm not moving up with as many badges, rather recognizing people and their accomplishments with applause equally, no matter how far they had gotten, by the unit of learning. So if they're all working through a badge on, say, next generation science standards, they might all be recognized during this next staff meeting, those that did that. So it was kind of a compromise to go that way, but that was another thing that I saw recently. I thought it was kind of an intriguing way to go around it.
I love that. And I think that one thing that's important to remember for folks who are having questions about, how do you do this, or what is the best way to do this? And we are so new at this, everyone, even the folks who all we live, breathe, think, and eat is badges, we're at the tip of the iceberg of where this goes. And so the best answers probably haven't been invented yet. So please give yourself permission to just go for it and try, and know that there's no real wrong answers. There's some answers are going to emerge to be more right than others. But I think, Brant, when you're going about, recognizing teachers, when, Science Wildcats and Inspire, when we're talking about using them in the classroom, the way you do it is the way you do it. And your kids best. Like Katie said, it's you're building relationships. And so, I say just go for it. So I think we're probably out of time. So we'll kind of wrap up here. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I really apologize for our amateur hour audio situation. And for folks who are really interested in learning more about badges, definitely always come to Badge Chat K-12 on Monday afternoons. And the day before ISTE, June 24th in San Antonio, Texas, there's going to be the Badge Summit, #Badge Summit, if you want to see info, or just badgesummit.weebly.com. Super cheap conference. If you send me a message letting me know you learned about it from this, I'll send you a discount code that'll give you access to early bird pricing. We'll rewind the clock for you if you get in touch with us this week for that. It'll be a great chance to meet Sarah, the teacher, in person. She's moderating our keynote panel, and Rich will be there, and maybe we'll get Katie to come out from California as well. Sarah, back to you to kind of close it, I guess.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for a very, very great discussion. I learned a lot, and there was a lot of great conversation here and on Twitter as well as on YouTube Live. So thank you all so much for your amazing insight. Thank you to everyone who participated with us on Twitter or YouTube Live and who will be watching later. So the Twitter chat will be transcribed and available within a few minutes. The iTunes podcast I'm hoping to put out tomorrow, as well as one from the summer. So next week we are off. We are actually going to be taking spring break off for the next few weeks. A little vacation from Tweet and Talks, but we'll still be around on Voxer, etc., etc., etc. So you can check out all the places that EduMatch is by going to our pinned tweet at edu_match, or by going to edumatch.org and looking under social media presence under the Get Connected tab. But we will be back on May the 7th. And at that time, let me see, I'm pulling up my handy dandy Bitly. And at that point, we will be talking about, I believe it's our makerspace and collaboration discussion. So that's going to be a great one. And that's going to be moderated by Ali Schlip. So definitely come back for that. Same bad time, same bad channel. Anyone can be a panelist. Just sign up at tinyurl.com/EduMatch podcast, and subscribe if you feel so inclined at bit.ly/EduMatch podcast, and then you'll have the latest episode fresh off the press. So again, wanted to thank everybody for participating with us today, and have a wonderful week and a wonderful next few weeks, as a matter of fact. So good night,
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you so much.